This is a GK Media podcast.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com.
Chuck and Megan Marra, producing, directing and casting team, working together for over 33 years at the pinnacle of the entertainment industry in Los Angeles. Thank you so much for joining me today on Garry Talks.
Oh, thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
You have a new book out as well called How to Trash Your Career, which is a comedic guide to the actor's journey. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of enthusiastic actors and wannabe actors who want to get more insights on that, which we'll get to shortly. And it is available, just to flag it at the start, on Amazon. But talk to me about working in Hollywood, working in Los Angeles. Is it the dog-eat-dog industry that us outsiders think it could be?
I don't know if it's dog eat dog. It's row as fast as you can.
Yeah.
and that's, that's it. There's a wonderful, not even wonderful, there's a belief that people want to stop you or crush your careers or something.
Right.
And nobody's got time for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like
they're all trying to survive themselves. But, it's years ago, we made a decision that we were not going to work with jerks. I say that politely. That's not actually the term we use.
No,
but we just said we're not going to do that. Our life is too short. We love working together. We love what we do. And when you have to work with somebody that's harder to work with, it's just not worth it.
And how do you know early on if someone is going to be difficult?
You don't.
But sometimes you do. Sometimes you know right away. And sometimes there's a reputation that follows, or precedes rather, so you kind of know that you maybe raise your rate a little bit or make yourself unavailable or, whatever. But when you find out, right, just recently we went through something and we're just like, okay, we're going to just slog through this and get through it. And then now we know,
Yeah.
People have a better often brochure than the actual trip itself. It's like, oh, this is going to be great, and then it turns out to be not so great.
Yes.
But you just learn, you just kind of, you get through it.
Yeah.
I find that people, if they're at the top of the industry, can sometimes be the most humble.
Absolutely. We find that to be very, very true. Because I think when there's an insecurity that comes when you're not at the top or when you're working your way up or you're feeling like you're not at you're just feeling like you're the underdog. So you feel like you have to just try prove yourself.
If you're insecure, you're always trying to step on somebody. But the people at the top, the people who are successful, I've never known any of them to be discouraging or judgmental to anybody starting out. They get it.
They want to help if they can.
Yeah. Very encouraging.
It's very encouraging when you're at that level, at upper level.
There's also an expression I heard as soon as I got out here: life's too short. And they say that it's just like, life's too short. I'm not going to work with people I don't get along with. Life's too short. I don't want to work with people who can't do the job. This is supposed to be fun. Otherwise we'd be working on Wall Street. What
right.
I mean? It's like, this is, it's gotta be fun.
Yeah. Pretty much anybody that's doing it is doing it for the love of it and not doing it for the paycheck.
Especially now.
Okay.
Especially now. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Why, when you say especially now, what's the challenge now that you're facing?
Well, we've gone through this strange,
well, after the pandemic, obviously, that changed things a lot.
Rewind a little bit. It was like in the late 90s, everything was humming along. People were making money and
hand over fist
doing projects. And I don't know really what, have suspicions of what happened, but people started to resent other people for making money. And so they're like, why does he get to make so much money? Anyway, there's a big actor strike that hit the commercial world that took the industry down to a knee.
In 2000. That was a long time ago.
But it never really recovered because then other parts of the industry began to close down, and
well, they also discovered, because they had to, shooting in other parts of the country and parts of the world.
Mhm.
And so all of a sudden were people like, well, I can go shoot in Canada and it's a hell of a lot cheaper, or I can go shoot in South Africa and it's cheaper to shoot there, or Australia,
Yeah.
or Atlanta, which is now, that was kind of the start of the boom for Atlanta, which is huge now.
Yeah. And that,
and it never really bounced back.
It never really bounced back. It just gets, and then the latest actor strike, and then AI, and we could do this without a living human being.
Yeah,
it's
well, the last
terrifying.
strike was pretty long, and kind of brought a lot of people to their knees. And that's the thing, is that right now, and then because the actor strike, and then the
writer's strike,
and then the Teamsters went on strike, and then now there was just a strike in
video games
stuff. So all of a sudden, everybody's like, well, when are we all going back to work? I mean, the strikes are all over, but now when does the work start? But luckily, all of a sudden, like, we got 2 new movies last week.
Mm-hmm.
And we got distribution for a film that we had, for a documentary that we had, all of it in the last month. So all of a sudden it's like, oh,
okay,
well, I guess this is it. I guess this is the time. We're finally bouncing back.
What's interesting as well about LA is I was reading a report about 2 months ago, and it was saying that the productions of reality television shows has declined drastically in LA.
Yes.
Very much.
Yes. That's true. And I think that's a good thing. I personally think that's a good thing. Just because it's I don't know, we lost the art of making art, of telling stories and stuff like that. I mean, it's certainly fun. And, I'll be the first to say I'll sit down and watch Survivor all, 3 episodes in a row. But it's not creating stories. It's not doing storytelling. It's not, and that's what actors do.
And a lot of reality television also shows the worst of us, right? It's this person trying to get this person voted off, or that kind of thing. And it's in and that's not really what normal movie going, television going is about. You want to hang out with aspirational, or you just want to look at your life. You want to look at it and say, I can get that. You don't want to bring the worst out. Not everybody does it. But I mean, my favorite thing is I love to cook. We love to cook. Nothing better than ending the day opening a bottle of wine and put on some music and cooking and eating. But there are shows out there that can make cooking the most stressful thing in the world. There's nothing in the pantry. Go make something. Go. I mean, what's this about?
How often are those shows scripted?
I don't know. I think there's probably a guideline.
I think there's a guide.
Script thing.
I don't know. We actually haven't done one, although we're getting ready to do one.
Yeah. Interesting.
And it's going to be a different one. Instead of tearing people down, it's going to be more building people up. Oh, I was so grateful that she helped me do this. Oh, I was so grateful when I learned how to do that. It's going to be a little bit more than that. We'll see how long that lasts. Hopefully it'll last a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think hopefully people are seeing the shift too, in the fact of people kind of being nasty to each other and starting to be nice to each other, and see how much further that can take people.
When you turn off the television, if you're feeling worse about your life than you did when you turned on the television,
then something's wrong.
But the other thing is also, we went through a phase where back in the 90s, I hate to sound like an old fart, but back in the 90s, you would pay people more. You would say, listen, this is what the going rate is. I'm paying this. So I attract the most talented, and I encourage other people to be more talented, to learn more. And then we went into this phase where we were trying to cut everybody's rates. So there's really no incentive as a whole to try harder, because it's still just going to pay less.
Mm.
And I think we're getting around that because the movie industry, the theater going industry, has got to get people back in theaters and away from the television sets. And they have to attract the bigger talent. So there's hope.
Yeah. And there's a whole interesting thing too, I don't know, starting maybe 9 or 10 years ago, about just hiring influencers for stuff. Just hiring influencers, especially in the commercial industry, to just sell stuff. And it's like, it didn't. They tried really hard. It didn't work very well.
Yeah, but for digital media, it's still rising. Like it's set to, I think, take in 24 billion this year, influencer marketing, which is crazy. But even going back to cinema and the struggle, like I think that they thought they hit the nail on the head with the whole Marvel universe, like these big epic productions.
Right.
But you can see now with what's been coming out under that umbrella over the last 2 years, really, that no one's going to see them in the cinema like they were 10 years ago. So they do need to figure out how to really get bums on seats again in theaters.
Yes, I think I agree, because that's, when my sons who are in their late 20s were like, oh yeah, the new Marvel movie's out. I'm not, like, that's
when they didn't get excited about that. That's and part of it is that we get inundated. We used to, you go to a movie, it was an event. It also didn't cost you an arm and a leg. But you would go and it's fun, and you got to have something to eat. But again, I bring it back to food. But you go out to the movies.
Really?
Yeah. And it was something cool sitting in a big theater. I mean, I don't know if you probably remember those grand movie houses. When you go down to the Egyptian, or you go down to the Chinese theater, or the Lowe's theaters, it's like, holy mackerel, this is a palace. It was an experience.
Yeah.
And well, that's just the trick, isn't it? Just getting everybody to
get back into this.
If you got a phone, you don't have to go out, and that's bad. Yeah. I mean, everything, it's all progress. I get it. I know they said this about when people started riding horses, like that's just, fad, and it's going to ruin society.
And the Beatles needed a haircut.
But I remember that.
But you know what? My happy place is, and I hope other people are out there that believe this, but my happy place is in a big movie theater when it's dark and it's cool. And I've got a popcorn, and I used to be a Diet Coke. I don't drink that anymore, but it used to be, and I was just sitting there. I didn't care even how good the movie was. I was just in my happy place.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what else is hopeful is that we ran a theater up here in the mountains.
Not a movie theater, but
a live theater. It was a dream. I've always wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And
we
did. And our first show was A Christmas Carol. I transcribed a brand new version, and we had 20 actors on stage, and I didn't know if anybody was going to show up. And 125 people showed up.
Yeah.
And they were calling in panic because it was snowing. Don't start without me. And it was amazing that people want to be in a room with other human beings, to see other human beings do it's just, it was very successful and fun,
wonderful,
and an eye-opening experience that I think that there's hope there. I think people will like, oh, this is fun, but that's more to be with people, to hear an audience laugh, together.
Yeah.
Is an amazing experience.
My wife was at a Coldplay concert in Dublin a couple of weeks ago, and she was saying she never experienced anything like it. So the stadium takes about 80,000 people, but everyone was just there for fun, for entertainment, singing together. She said she just never felt spiritually, emotionally an experience like that in her life. Whereas usually if there's a big game on, it's one crowd against the other crowd. But it is like that old period before when we used to go to the movies, that everyone was just there and they're screaming at the same time, laughing at the same time, crying at the same time.
Right.
It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Right.
It's an important thing. I like it.
I do. I love it.
So, like, you have a wide range of experience. You've done producing, directing, casting, as I said. You've done live drama, as you were mentioning there. You've done, like, is it over 3,500 commercials? Worked on episodic films, pilots. There's a lot going on there.
We're tired.
What advice would you give to someone who wants to come into the industry now? Because I'm sure the industry today to get into is very different getting into it 33 years ago.
Yes and no. Right now there's more opportunities. There's more doors open.
Right.
We teach a lot, and you want out there. This is really weird and bizarre. People when we make it apparent that the door is as close as your phone, if you have a song to sing it and get it out there.
Get it posted. Yeah.
In 30 years ago, you couldn't get on the Paramount lot or the Warner Brothers lot, or you had to get into a club to sing and hope people came to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do. The big thing when I got to town was you got to do a play so people could see you. So I did a ton of plays and nobody comes. And there's a freeing aspect of that, because just, I could be good or bad and no one's going to know because no one's going to see it.
Yeah, but you worked more. You got hired more when you were working all the time.
That's right.
So my thing for new people is to come to town and hit the ground running and really do exactly that. Get into plays. Yes, nobody's going to come. Don't think you're going to be discovered there. But that work begets work,
Yeah. It makes you sharper.
And it just makes you sharper and it makes you better. And don't give up, because you never know when that next door is going to open. And as long as you can, afford it to do that, and B, stay in love with it. As soon as you fall out of love, I tell people, as soon as you start to get bitter and stuff, you got to step away. It doesn't mean you're stepping away forever, but you got to step away for a while, because if you get bitter, not better. If you get better, we can continue to see. If you get bitter, that's a whole different story. You can tell when somebody walks in the room for casting, if they're bitter, it reeks. We can smell it. We can feel it. We can, or the other thing is, if they're desperate, we can also feel that also reeks. So it's coming in, bringing your A game, bringing your confidence, your skill, your ability to listen and take direction, all has to kind of come into the room when you're coming into cast. And that's the area I talked about most, because that's the one I'm most familiar with. I mean, that's what I've been doing forever and a day. You've got to bring that love of what you're doing, the joy.
And you can't fake it. One of our big pet peeves is the idea of faking it till you make it. You can't fake it. But if you're doing plays where no one's going to see it and you're doing it for the love of it, and you're doing whatever movie you can afford to make, we have a cool little mug that says "Make the movie you can make," that it reminds you that if you're waiting for the $20 million to make a movie, then you're really not waiting, are you? But if you're grabbing your cell phone or you're grabbing your whatever and you're just going out and making anything you can, when you walk into a room, you know who you are.
Yeah.
You don't have to fake it. You know, you've been working. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And do you find that people have more of a drive in today's world to be famous than to just love the craft?
Yes, very much.
Absolutely.
And I got nothing for them. I'm like, really? No.
It's fleeting. Your fame can be fleeting.
It's with everybody in every market, in every screen. Fame is 30 seconds, and then it goes away, and then you have to do something else that's worth talking about. It's
because
it's crazy.
We were talking earlier that we were saying we're lucky, our generation compared to the generation previous, who had to just grind and work that job Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 for 40 years of their life, that we're living in this world where we can kind of choose what we want to do. And it's great. And at the same time, the generation below us, the younger generation, are probably online watching these influencers that you were talking about, Megan, and seeing, I should be doing better. I should be a millionaire by the age of 21. And it's gone the extreme, the other end.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's hard. That's there's a lot of that in that younger generation, and it's hard. Like I said, we've got 2 kids in that generation, and it's hard to watch them kind of struggle and try to find their way. I mean, and like I said, I feel we're blessed that our kids have done very well, but it's just, that it is crazy. You're
comparing yourself to people you don't know, and you're comparing one snapshot of their life.
Yeah.
And that's not fair.
Yeah.
That's not fair to you.
we can make anything look good on
Oh,
Instagram.
yeah. I mean, this is the frame. The rest of the house could be, I mean, right now, you don't even know if this is a real house. You don't know.
It could be in a
But
prison cell for all I know.
it could be, we could be outside. You have no idea. This is all's left.
It's Hollywood.
That's right. We know how to make a movie.
We talk about it all the time in this realm. It's a job. This is a job that you do, that you don't hate your life, that you don't hate. Now go, and the rest of life goes up and down.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I think you can survive it. You live within the money you make doing what you're doing. If you all of a sudden start to buy things you can't afford, then you're always going to be stressed at anything.
Yeah.
But if this is just a job, and the thing about it is it's a project job. You work for a company and you've got a job week to week. If you do in the entertainment industry, you've got this project and now this is over. And then you have to get this project. So we're constantly
looking for work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a constant, regardless of what's going on. When there was no strike or when when life is good and crazy. I mean, we're always going job to job to job. And it's not a career that's for everybody. A lot of people need, like our youngest son came to us in college, his like second year of college, and he was going to be a DP, and that's what he wanted, to be a director of photography. And he was going to do that. And he came to us and he goes, Mom, Dad, I got something I got to talk to you guys about. And we're like, what?
Oh, no.
Oh, I think, oh God, somebody's pregnant or, what happened? And he's like, I'm going to go. I'm not going to be in entertainment industry. And we're like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go into engineering, computer sciences. Right. And now he's working at Amazon. He's designing websites on Amazon. It's like, good, honey, good. You'll be able to support us when we're all those days that we're out of work.
You're our pension now, son.
Exactly. You're our retirement. But it's just, I'm not cut out to do a long haul thing.
Neither of us really. We're entrepreneurs, and our spirits are. So we're always starting new businesses, new classes, new writing books, doing. I just started during the last strike because I was like, I got to do something that's driving me crazy. So I started making lampshades. I mean, I've got a whole lampshade business now that on top of what we're doing here.
True.
I'm making and people go, lampshades. Like, yeah, because it's really fun and it's creative and I have a blast. But it's one of those things that that's what we do. So we're not 9-to-5ers by any
it's funny because I remember even when I started out in this business 11 years ago, one of the things was I didn't want to know on Monday what I was doing on Friday. I didn't like that predictability.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's exciting and it keeps you fresh, and it's what I'm built for.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. But it's not for the the faint of heart. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Talk to me about the book, How to Trash Your Career.
Okay. So it's a collection of real life experiences that I say I've tested all of them personally.
Or I've observed.
And I've observed a lot of them. It's actors constantly do the same things to either stop them from getting started or trash it once it gets good.
Yeah.
And it's always the same bunch of things. And so one day we were teaching a class and somebody was, and this is a big one. Somebody said to me, oh, I just booked something. I said, congratulations. And she said, well, it's just a regional commercial. And I said, stop it. That's chapter 1 of my book, How to Trash Your Career. And she said, where can I get it? I'm like, I'm just joking with you. There's no book called that. And then I started thinking,
but then
wait a minute. Wait a minute. So,
hence
the
there
book.
She is.
It's people downplay it. First, the most popular thing that people do is that they make fun, they belittle every little thing they do. Oh, it's just a commercial. Oh, it's just a guest star. It's just a co-star. It's just, you know what I mean? And then you get down to
indie film.
It's just an indie film. I got an Oscar, but Tom Hanks got 2. You know what I mean? You can constantly belittle, and that since you were the prime mover of your career, you're the spark plug. If you don't feel like getting out of bed, because what's the point? Because everything you do doesn't matter. You're not going to propel your career.
Yeah.
And people think, oh, your agent's going to do it for you. That's another way they trash your career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, we really tell people all the time, your job is to create enthusiasm. It's enthusiasm for the work that you're doing. It's enthusiasm for yourself. It's enthusiasm for your learning and your studying. It's kind of an enthusiasm all the way. You've got to create it, or else you're just going to be dull and bored with your life.
And you can't afford to be bored. You have to be inspired. And conversely, the other thing that people do is they overblow everything. They vaunt everything. Oh, this is the biggest award. And it's not. It's not. So if you've been full of BS for your entire day at the party or wherever you've been, when your head hits the pillow, you're lying. And then you get that same thing. Whereas Megan said, is another chapter in the book goes, bitter is better if you want to trash your career.
Yeah.
And it's so easy. I remember going to the Actors Equity Lounge in New York. But when I was first starting out, and all these guys I'd seen on television and on stage in New York, they're all sitting around this table, sharing war stories and telling you how bad it is. But that doesn't make you want to get out and do it.
Right. No.
You know what I mean? You have to. There's a great story that Megan often tells. I'll tell it for you. Well, we would be auditioning all day for a major campaign, and they just didn't find the guy. They had brought on these big hitters. These guys had been around forever, and it looked kind of stale. Last guy to come in was so excited to be there. He's brand new in town, and he was just like, "I'm here!" And the whole room lit up because of his excitement.
Yeah.
And he booked the thing, and then he later on probably got bitter. But I mean,
maybe not.
Maybe not. Who knows? So it's a short book, but it's 25 short chapters, and it's very sarcastic.
It's very sarcastic. I mean, and the funny thing is that people teach class. We've been teaching for years and years and years, and people teach what to do, how to do auditions, but nobody teaches what not to do. And that's a lot, that's in any business. That's a lot of stuff. I mean, and it's given with, you're very tongue in cheek, but we had a lot of fun writing it and thinking of all the things that we had seen and, that either Chuck had done or I had seen or, and it was a lot. We actually already thought, well, we probably have a second book if we don't, if we want.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will, but
I mean, there's another chapter called "Take Advice from Other Non-Working Actors," which is what people do. This isn't working for me. Why don't you try it?
Yeah.
So,
is it heartbreaking though seeing great talent come into the town, but just screw it up?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yes, it is. But there are ways to stop it, to point it out, kindly, and get them kind of back on track. And that's kind of what I like to do. I like to be able, I'm one of those I'm a mom, that's, so I'm always, come on, let's try it like this. Let's do that. And giving people new chances and giving people their first chances. I love that.
Yeah.
And we did a class for 5 or 6 years called The Project, because we would focus actors on a project. But the idea was, if people had either get just brand new to the business or had been in the business and have stalled and they needed fire, they needed that inner thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very rewarding to see that light come on in people's eyes. Like, this is fun. I can go do this. And then you watch their career start to move.
Yeah. And we called it The Project because they were the project.
They were the project.
Yeah.
That, they'd get in there and go, okay, well, you were the project. You're the one, you're what we're working on for the next 6 months. And it was very, very rewarding to do.
Yeah. It's very sad to see people come here to live out a dream
and give it
up.
And we see them get so close to getting their dream. And then they're like, I want to go back to school and be a nutritionist or, something like that.
Yeah,
and you're like,
yeah.
wow, that is heartbreaking and very hard for us to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is hard work, really. And that's the thing.
It is.
Hard work.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people think it's not hard work and it is.
It's work. I mean, you're constantly, either creating work, getting in your own way, getting out of your own way, finding out, oh, I did that. Don't do that again. It's just what worked in your audition yesterday was yesterday. Now you got to find something new.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But people go, that worked for me once. Yeah, that was 1983. It worked for you.
Yeah.
And it's just, look, I think it's a great career. I can't do anything else. That's the other part. I find that I don't have any other talents outside of this industry, so I've got to make this work.
You could make lampshades.
I could make lampshades.
Oh, there you go.
So that's what you want to find. I mean, you want to find people who can't. Quick story. We were building, when we were doing the theater, we had to move every year. We had to do something that happened. We had to move the theater.
It's not easy to move a theater either, by the way.
So we're upstairs in this place, and we're okay. We got a pillar in the middle of the stage, but we're going to make that work. And we're building seats. And my friend, who was an attorney, said, "What would you do if you didn't do this?" And I stopped and I thought, and I really gave it some thought. I said, I probably build a theater. I mean, it's just what I do.
Somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to do. And then when the theater stopped, we just, we couldn't find a home to do that. That's when we started making movies. So we started doing shorts. And that's just, you make the movie you can make.
Yeah.
Isn't it amazing? Sorry, Megan.
No. That's okay.
That isn't it amazing and wonderful that 33 years in the industry that you can still I can still clearly see your enthusiasm for what you're doing.
Yeah. Thank you. It's, it's very fun and it's very rewarding to us, Yeah.
And
it's not, I wouldn't say it's necessarily financially rewarding all the time. Sometimes it really is. And then sometimes it's like, oh, this is, but it's rewarding for our hearts. And that's what we like. It fills us up with either pride for what somebody's doing or pride for what we just accomplishment or joy because we're having so much fun doing it or, we just, and we look for that too. I mean, we could probably look for all the negative stuff too, but that's no fun,
Oh yeah. I don't think there's any reason to, you focus on what's fun.
What's fun?
If something's not good on your plate, don't eat it. Again, we go back to food.
Oh.
Well, How to Trash Your Career is available on Amazon, and I'm sure you can pick up from the chat as well that, it is a comedic guide. It's a fun read. You can eat while you're reading it as well. Chuck would be very proud of you. And if you want to get more information, go to thefoleymarrastudios.com. thefoleymarrastudios.com.
Studios, Chuck, plural. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, plural. Chuck and Megan, thank you so much for joining me today on Garry Talks.
You are so welcome. It was a lovely way to spend my morning.
Continued success to you both.
Thank you.
You too.